Hello everyone! Welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 242. Andrew Eisen here, and Zygon there. Hello Zygon, and James. Hello. So, let me talk to you about exercise and exercise equipment. So, as I mentioned, I think a couple weeks ago, I have since work from home and all that started, been trying to source some weights so that I can work out at home, because not going to the gym anymore. Took me 15 months, but I finally bought some decently priced weights. So I have a bar and a couple different plates, so that's nice. And I wanted to also get a bench and a weight rack. Well, found one that I thought looked good, and so I bought it, and the shipping said something like June 27th. And then the following Monday, gigantic box shows up on my porch. I went, well, works for me. So I walk outside and I grab this gigantic box and I, use good posture, keep my back straight and stick my butt out and bend at the knees, and I'm like, alright, I'm gonna lift this sucker up and I'm gonna haul it into my house without throwing out my back or anything. And I've got this thing, I'm like, okay, ooh, breathe right, and upsy daisy, and I damn near throw it through the ceiling because it was a lot lighter than I expected. I mean, it's a bench and a weight rack. I'm expecting this thing to be super heavy, and I nearly threw it through my ceiling. It's only like 60 pounds, so but I didn't break the ceiling. I didn't hit anything. It's fine. Dragged it inside and looked at the box and realized, maybe it's so light because there's only a bench in here. There's no weight rack for which to rack my weights. And I thought, oh no. Did they screw up, or did I screw up? Did I accidentally order just a bench, thinking that I had bought a bench and a rack? Was it a confusing listing, where it was like, because the bench and the weight rack do not come with, a weight bar and weights, says that clearly, but a bar and weights are in the pictures, even though it's not included. So I thought, oh crap. Is it the same with the rack? So I double checked, and no. Apparently they ship separately. Sold as a combo, but shipped separately. So I guess the rack will be here on the 27th, and I've got a bench until then. But hey, I can always use a friendly place to sit, so I decide I'm going to put the bench together. And it's almost together. You can see it right there, but you can also see under it there's a lot of pieces on the floor, along with a hammer and a screwdriver and the instructions. So I haven't finished putting it together because it turns out I do not have the proper tools. I need, and it does say this in the instructions, once you dig the instructions out of the box, that you're going to need an adjustable wrench, and you're going to need some grease. The instructions also say that there's grease in the box. It says use the included grease. I have been through that box several times. There's no grease in there. Maybe it's in the other box. Maybe it comes with the weight rack. I don't know. But I have a wrench, but it's a little travel wrench. That ain't gonna work to tighten the lock nuts on this thing. Was that Wacko Warner? Did I accidentally say a Wacko Warner line? What brand? Gold? Might be Golds? I don't know, let me look through my, hang on. Why am I looking through? I have a box sitting behind the couch, hang on. Wider. The same bench is sold under different brands. I mean, it's the same thing. It's a XRS 20 weight bench. Gold's Gym has the exact same thing. So I saw the same item sold just with different branding. But this one was $10 cheaper. Really, the only difference I've seen between the different brands of this particular bench is the color scheme. And, you know, I'm not particularly picky. So, that's not true. I'm actually very picky. You know, I went to a midnight release of the GameCube back in 2001, 20 years ago. Oh my god, I'm old. And I was there for the midnight release. They had, appropriately, 64 GameCubes, half black, half purple. So 32 purple, 32 black. I wanted a black one, obviously. I was the 33rd person in line. Every single person in front of me bought a black GameCube. So when I got to the front of the line, all that was left was purple. So I left, and I sat in front of Kmart for 6 hours until they opened up the following morning and bought myself a black GameCube. And I got an inflatable GameCube chair with it, too. Anyway, so I do not quite have the tools to completely put this together. Need an adjustable wrench. So I thought, should I just buy an adjustable wrench, or should I invest in a decent toolbox? Well, I found a really nice toolbox for 40 bucks, and it's got pretty much everything you'd ever want in it, including a socket wrench and a bunch of sockets, which I don't have, and adjustable wrenches, bunch of different wrenches, pliers, locking pliers. It's got a hammer in it. If I would have got a hammer, but whatever. Some wire enders, clamps, things. 40 bucks for a nice tool set. I thought, you know, I don't build a ton of stuff, so I wouldn't get a ton of use out of it, but if I'm going to be spending 12, 13 bucks on a single wrench, may as well just spend 40 on a toolbox. So Wednesday, I pull the trigger and I buy this $40 toolbox online. Then Friday, where I bought it from, advertises a Father's Day 20% off coupon. There's 8 bucks I could have used. So I wrote them and asked them if they could retroactively apply it to my order. Never heard back. Of course, I wrote them on Friday, so yeah, that's not too surprising. But Toolbox hasn't arrived yet, so I've got a half-built bench, which is all wobbly because the lock nuts are not tightened. But I did buy grease. I went to Home Depot, and unfortunately, the smallest amount of like white lithium grease they had was 8 ounces. I don't want 8 ounces of grease. I'm not gonna. I only got like four bolts to grease up. I have no need for 8 whole ounces of grease. So I went to Rally's Auto Parts and I found a 1.5 ounce tube of grease, which cost $1 more, but I was like, yeah, you know, I think I'll pay the extra $1 just so I don't have that much damn grease sitting in my cabinet. Besides, the smaller one I'm sure can fit in the toolbox. That would be a nice place for it. At least so far as I've seen, the grease goes on the bolts that pass through the hinges where the like where the bench, you have the seat of the bench and then you have the backrest. It does this, so the bolt that goes through here, that's one of the bolts they ask you to grease. It also has a arm curl and leg extension attachment, which I haven't built and attached yet. You know, the bolt that holds it on the pivot point that it pivots around, that gets greased. So I think there's only about 4 bolts in this thing that get greased. But nevertheless, got my grease. Now I just have to wait for a toolbox so I can finish putting that together, and then however long the actual weight rack takes to get here. And then I will be able to resume exercising, because I've actually got so much workout equipment all over my floor that I have no room to exercise. Ain't that a pickle? A pickle and a half. Might also apply after I tighten them as well. Probably not going to untighten them, so, but sure, it's not black. It is mostly dark gray, so, which is, you know, fine. I mean, if I really had the choice between, you know, solid black and light gray, I'd probably go for solid black, but I went for the one that was $10 cheaper than the others because it was a brand I'd never heard of. I could have paid $10 more to get the Gold's Gym branded one, but I don't care that much. It's the same. It's literally the same item, just with a different cover on the seat. Pardon me. Zygon says, better bet to just get the whole toolbox. That way you got it lying around. Good call. Yeah, I thought so too. Also, because currently the tools that I do have, I have a hammer and some small. Most of my tools are fairly small. They're like travel size tools. Yeah, I have one good screwdriver, which is on the floor over there. I have one good hammer. The rest of them are. I have a small ball peen hammer. I have. Small pliers. I have a small set of like jewel screwdrivers. But it would be nice to just have a nice toolbox where I can keep all of my tools in one spot and just put it in the cabinet and have them all in one place rather than just floating loose in the junk drawer. Toolbox game. Yeah. I could always WD-40 and grease up all the hinges. Yeah, I mean, that could work. I don't have any WD-40. I mean, you could use that in a pinch, but for these purposes, something like white lithium grease is probably what you want to do. But, you know, whatever. I didn't have anything of the sort. So, I mean, I could have just cooked a bunch of fish and drained it, start slathering my bolts in fish goo. So getting closer to, it took 15 months to get a nice, still working on it, but almost there. All right. So before I recap all the rest of the E3 stuff that happened after the last podcast, I'd like to talk about a couple demos I played this week from E3. So I played, let me add, so I think last week, if it wasn't in the last podcast, it was during the Sunday stream that I mentioned this, I saw a game called Terra Nil, which I thought was really interesting looking because it's a, instead of a city builder, it's like a nature builder. You're like terraforming a dead, desolate planet. And you, so you seed the earth and you grow the greenery and you water the crops and you create different biomes to get the wildlife to move back in. And then when you're done and nature has found its balance, you recycle all of your crap so that there aren't a bunch of silos and towers and stuff sitting there. So you bring nature back and pack up your crap and leave. It's actually a really cool idea. Of course, Amaterasu from Okami is looking. It's like, all I have to do is walk across. It's fine. I don't need any of that highfalutin tech. I enjoyed the demo. The only thing that really it's really cute. I love the presentation. I think it does a nice thing where it locks. It doesn't even. It only gives you a few tools at a time. Starts you with like 4 or 5 tools, and then when you pass a certain checkpoint, it's like, okay, now here's another menu with the tools, and it builds it like that. I think that's a nice way to do it. The instructions could be a little bit more clear around resources and what they are, because it doesn't mention them at all. It's something you just kind of have to notice. Um, also, the randomly generated map randomly generated in a configuration that forced me to put an item in one place that meant that I couldn't complete the level. It grew the wetlands over a area that my little my little boat that packs stuff up, couldn't get past, so I couldn't actually complete the level. But I had enough fun with it to actually start it over. It's not too long. It'll probably take about 20 minutes. So if it builds from there, if it actually has the one issue, this is probably just a demo thing, but there isn't a lot of challenge here. It's just do this, do this, do this, do this, you're done. It's more busy work than it is actually a game or a challenge, at least in the demo, but I think it's definitely a great jumping off point. Another demo I played was Unpacking, which is another game I mentioned last week. I thought was interesting. It's a game, like the title implies, where you are moving into a place and you just unpack boxes and put the stuff in the boxes on the shelves and the drawers and the cabinets, wherever. And I thought, well, that's an interesting idea. That could be really tedious and boring unless the point of the game is kind of figuring out who you are by what you're unpacking. If there's some really cool storytelling going on with what objects you're pulling out of the box. As Zygon says, I think the game is more of a concept than anything. Promotion of being responsible for resources while having fun doing it, the eco game. Yeah, sure. I think it needs a bit more gameplay. Like, either of my... I did 2 runs. One got blocked by a bad randomly generated map. But both of them I had absolutely no problems. I was never... Again, this might just be the demo, but I never had to worry about actual resources. Nothing like no hurricanes happened to destroy my progress, so that's a concern. But again, just a demo. Anyway, Unpacking. I didn't finish the demo because it's actually kind of boring. It is doing a thing where you're kind of figuring out who your character is by what you're pulling out of their boxes. And you start out in moving into a room in like 1997, and then you move into a new place 8 years later, and it's interesting seeing what new things are in the boxes and what old toys are still in the boxes. For instance, you pull out a lot of art stuff, you pull out music CDs and books and toys and things, so you can get an idea of who this person is. And then years later, you pull out, you know, more rock posters and less childish toys, but there are still some what are apparently old favorites, and I like a lot of that. I think that's really interesting, but the game is not particularly fun. And I think one of the biggest problems is it's really difficult to figure, because it's done in a low-fidelity, retro, pixel art kind of a way. Some of the things I'm pulling out of boxes, it's not clear what they are. And the game will not let you progress until you put stuff in an appropriate spot. And they do this so you don't just dump the box on the floor and call it a day. But sometimes, for example, like a poster, it needs to go on a wall somewhere. But some of the objects, it'll say, I'm not happy with your placement here. It's like, well, great, I don't know what that is, so I'm not really sure where to put it. You know, clothes go in the closet, computer goes on the desk, knickknacks go on shelves. I don't know what that object is, so I'm not sure where to put it. It was a while before I realized that what I was holding was a very tightly folded up pair of underwear. I'm like, aha! Undies! Those go in a drawer. And by gum, they did. And this person has a lot of undies, which is good. I mean, she changes her underwear with regularity, so good on her. It also does a fun thing where sometimes you'll pull something out of a box that belongs in a different room, like you'll be in the kitchen and you pull a toothbrush out of the box and it's like, okay, clearly that goes in the bathroom. Unless it's for scrubbing grout or something. The other thing that I think doesn't quite work is you pull objects out of the boxes one at a time and you have no idea of what you're going to pull out until you pull it out, which adds an element of surprise. What's going to be the new thing? But I think what might actually work better is if you could open the box and look in and just see the stuff in it, even if you couldn't see everything at the same time, if you could dig through. I think that might make it a little bit more interesting than having it completely prescribe exactly what order you are pulling stuff in. Interesting idea for a game. It didn't quite come together for me, though. Zygon says, Unpacking is just a story game to see who the person is and how they progress in life, another concept-type game. Yeah, and I don't think, at least from the demo, I don't think it's entirely successful at that, mainly because, due to the retro art style, I'm having difficulty figuring out what some of the objects are, and some of the objects which I know what they are, I can't really examine them. Like, I can tell the character has a lot of books, but I don't know what books. Like, I can't read the covers. Right? I can see the music CDs, but I can't get a sense of what kind of music they are. So I feel that we're missing a bit of the storytelling just on account of the presentation, and I find that that bothersome. So, Unpacking, it's a neat idea, but I really would like to try that one. I don't remember what it's called. Do I have it on last week's list? Let me look real quick. A Little to the Left is what it was called. It's an organizing game where you line up pencils that are crooked and fix crooked picture frames and sort your Skittles by color or something like that. I don't know if that would be fun, but it's a funny idea for a game. And as I go through the games that stood out to me, I think that's a lot of times going to be the theme, is the games that attract my attention the most are not necessarily the ones that I'm most interested in playing or think are going to be the most fun, but are the ones that are unique and different, or at the very least, that's an interesting idea. I don't think that's going to be fun. I have no interest in playing it, but that's a really cool idea. The other game I played, or the demo rather that I played a little bit today, is called Lake, which was also presented during one of the shows last week. And it's a story about a woman who takes a 2-week sabbatical from wherever the hell she works to go to her small town of origin and deliver mail for a couple of weeks. So it's mail carrier simulator. I thought, huh, that's interesting. So you get in a mail truck and you drive around delivering packages and mail. And then you talk to the residents of this small lakeside town and get to know people and maybe hang out or something. Any good? I don't know. So I played, Zygon says, it's an interesting concept to be sure. I kind of enjoy busy work games like the power washing game or a Viscera cleanup. Yeah, the games that are just kind of a pleasant, repetitive task or chore. It's almost like doing a Sudoku puzzle or something like that. It's just, it's busy work. It's just something to keep your brain firing so you're not staring at a wall all day. I actually tried Viscera Cleanup, and I love the concept. I love the idea. For anyone who doesn't know, the concept is the game takes place in a room where there was a major gunfight in a video game. So Duke Nukem, or who I think Vixer Cleanup is actually attached to Shadow Warrior. So Shadow Warrior, Jimmy Wang or whatever his name is, goes through and chops up all the bad guys and shoots them and then leaves. And it's up to some poor janitor to clean all that crap up. So you have to wander around picking up all the dismembered body parts and throwing them away and mopping up the blood. It's a really funny idea, but its controls are so utter garbage that I found it really unfun to play. Because it's not just, pick up body part and put it in the bin. It's so physics oriented that it's just really hard to play, and it makes it a frustrating chore instead of just a repetitive task like grinding in an RPG or even playing Monster Hunter. It's a cool idea though. Chicago, hello. And the power washing game was actually on E3, and I guess you just clean stuff with a power washer. So that's cool. Chicago says, I think you just pour gasoline and toss a match to clean up the mess. Yeah, but then you destroy the building, and there's a lot of expensive stuff in that building. So, what's funny, another funny touch to Viscera cleanup is occasionally you find cool things like money clips or shurikens or something in your character. Oh, that's neat. And you have a little take it with you box that you can just put money in, and just the other stuff you find that doesn't go in the garbage can or the incinerator. Anyway, so back to Lake. I didn't play through the entire demo because I ran out of time. But the game is not ready to release yet based on the demo. The camera controls, you can flip the axis of the camera controls so that they work properly. I don't know why games always have their camera controls backwards, but they do. It couldn't possibly be because I'm backwards. No, it's everyone else. But the settings menu doesn't work. You can you can flip the axis of the camera controls. Doesn't matter. Camera gonna do what camera gonna do. The lighting in the game keeps blinking in and out and changing. There's a bunch of graphical glitches. The graphics are a little janky in the first place. If you go into the menu and then go back out of the menu, the last dialogue will reappear on the screen if you're already in a dialogue window. So if you have a dialogue window that has like 2 dialogues and then you menu and menu back, the last dialogue from the last conversation you have will get pasted on top. Oops. But it's an interesting game. You play Meredith Weiss, who I guess is a keyboard jockey or something for some tech company, and they've released a product. So she's going to take a sabbatical that coincides with her parents going on vacation. And I don't know what her mom does, but her dad is a mail carrier, so they're going on vacation. So while she's on vacation, she's going to stay at their home and deliver mail in her father's stead. That's what I'm getting out of the story so far. So, so far you wander around the town delivering, you literally drive the truck. And one interesting touch is you can't just floor it. The game regulates how fast you can go. So if you're in a residential neighborhood, you can hold the shoulder button down all you want. You're only going about 35 miles an hour. But once you get onto the main highway that surrounds the lake, it'll let you go faster. I think that's a nice touch. But yeah, you look at the map and you look at the addresses, and you have to go into the back of the truck and pick the right package and wander around town delivering items and saying hello to people. And I don't know where the game is going. It hasn't tipped its hand, if it has a hand to tip. But it could be a fun little... I really like the lakeside town. It's a really well designed. It feels like a real place. The characters are interesting so far. You get to choose your dialogue, which range from polite to slightly snarky. But so it doesn't look like it's going to be one of those Jennifer will remember you said that kind of games. I got to a video store, and what was funny is looking at all the parody posters. You have Back to the Present instead of Back to the Future. You have like Ghost Slammers instead of Ghostbusters or something. But then there's a poster for Jaws and the Dirty Dozen. It's just exactly that. And I don't think those are public domain, so I'm not sure why some movies are parodies and some aren't. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Jaws is 75. Dirty Dozen is older. So, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Interesting game. I'll be looking forward to checking out more of the demo to see where it's going. Because if it doesn't do anything more than what it's already doing, it could get a little dull. But I'm enjoying driving around the town and seeing the various sites. We've already visited the cat lady's house with all the cats, so that was fun. Hey, Chaos. So, all right, let's talk about E3. So, Xbox and Bethesda. Because Xbox bought Bethesda. So they came out of the gate with Starfield, which they say is the most anticipated game ever. I'm sitting here thinking, how could it be the most anticipated? You just announced it. I Googled it later. It was originally announced like 3 years ago. As Bethesda say, oh, we're going to do Starfield. It's going to be a big RPG. And apparently that was enough to make people really excited for it. The trailer tells us nothing about the game, except it probably has something to do with flying a spaceship, maybe. Do you fight other spaceships? Do you get out of your spaceship and walk around to different planets? Is there dress-up mode? I don't know. Are there other characters? Is it like a relationship drama? Don't know. So I have no interest. It's a cool logo, though. Kind of ballsy, though. Oh, Starfield, the most anticipated game. You haven't shown anything yet, guys. I found a lot of the... I mentioned this during last week's stream, but I found a lot of the fashions by the presenters interesting. Like, one of the presenters was doing had a yellow shirt on, and she was doing the Nathan Drake half-tuck thing. Don't do that. Either tuck it in, or don't tuck it in. Because the half-tuck thing looks ridiculous. Says this paragon of fashion. Then there was another person who was wearing, not sure what kind of pants, but it looked like it might have had an elastic waistband because there was a tie on the front of the pants, just dangling down the front of the pants. Which didn't look good. Odd choice, but, you know, if you're happy in them, I'm happy. Let's see. Replaced as a 2D pixel art side-scroller action brawler, or adventure brawler. And I don't remember it at all, so, oh well. I'm looking at my notes. Euden Chronicle. 100 Heroes. It's an RPG with a very hyperactive take on the Octopath the Traveler visual style. Seems to have a lot of personality. And then they said, it's coming out in 2023. But don't worry, Euden Chronicle Rising will come out first. I'm like, well, why didn't you lead with that? Is this a series that is this an established series that I've never heard of? What an odd way to present that. So we've got 2 of those games, and one comes out next year and one the year after, or this year and the year after, something like that. The Outer Worlds 2 had a funny trailer making fun of publishers who release trailers that don't tell you anything about the game. Because the trailer says, we're going to show you the character in silhouette, because we haven't designed him yet. And then we're going to do that, boom. sound effect, because everyone does the blom sound effect. Because, honestly, this is not coming out to 2023 because we just started. Funny. At least they're upfront about it. And then at the end of the Xbox show, they said, we showed you 30 games. No, you didn't. And they showed a collage of games that they purportedly showed, and I immediately identified 2 games that were not in the presentation. Or I blacked out. I mean, I guess that's possible. But we showed you 30 games. You did not. No, you didn't, because those 2 right there, those were not in the presentation, Microsoft/Bethesda. Kind of a weird thing to lie about. I imagine it wasn't originally a lie. They probably just cut a few segments for time, even though they don't need to do that because it's their own presentation. They can do whatever the hell they want, really. I mean, it does need to fit in a schedule because E3 is still, ESA is still putting on E3, but so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they had to cut a couple of segments, and they didn't have time to re-record the "we showed you 30 games" thing. They figured, it was 26, close enough, whatever. No one's gonna notice. I noticed. I noticed. Let's see. Chaos says Xbox wasn't bad, but exactly what I expected from Xbox. Halo, Forza, and a bunch of shooters. Yeah. Also, the WP accidentally leaked the trailer 30 minutes before. I don't know what the WP is, but the Starfield trailer? Huh. Well, I mean, whatever. It doesn't show anything about the game anyway, so. Cass is pretty sure Breath of the Wild 2 is more anticipated at the moment. I would say so. I mean, it's part of a long-running beloved franchise. It's a sequel to a game that is almost universally loved, except by me. And we've actually seen a little bit of it. I mean, granted, no gameplay up until last week, or last Tuesday. But it's Zelda, and it's also a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, so you can get away with that a bit more. So, 10 years in the making, Lady Gaga type fashion. No, I didn't see anything that was quite that extreme. Yeah, A Yuden Chronicle, Cass's looks great, successor to Suikoden. Yeah, I heard it's like a spiritual successor to Suikoden too, so, Devolver did a similar thing with microtransact. Yeah, Devolver I'll talk about in a bit. Much as I hate Devolver Digital's politics, no idea what their politics are. They get a few things right every now and again. Oh, Washington Post, okay. Their video team accidentally broke the embargo. Well, at least it wasn't Walmart this year. Did I count the old Bethesda games? Did I count the old Bethesda? I'm not sure what you're asking. I'm just listing the stuff that stood out to me. So we move on to Square Enix. Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, it looks better than Avengers. Did I count... did I count the... I did not count any games that Microsoft/Bethesda didn't actually show. You can't include the entire back catalog. You know, you can say we have 30 games, but they didn't show that many, so whatever. Anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy, I like that, unlike the Avengers game from Crystal Dynamics, which the characters look like they wanted to use the movie licenses, but they couldn't for some reason, so they ended up getting characters that kind of look like stunt doubles or something. This game is kind of a mix, Guardians of the Galaxy, kind of a mix between the movies and the comic books, but they look like their own thing. Looks like the humor's mostly on point, although from the gameplay I saw, the characters talk way too much. They just do not shut up. It is just constant, incessant chattering, and hopefully that's just something they dialed up for the E3 presentation. But whew, boy, I need to tone that down for the game. Bold choice that you only play Star-Lord. Can't say I'm really looking forward to the whole choose your own adventure aspect of it, because number one, it's very difficult to make it feel like your decisions matter in the least. For example, there's a whole sequence where the characters are debating about what they can do to make money. And, well, we could donate plasma, we could rob a bank, we could sell Groot to this lady who buys monsters. I'm willing to bet that whatever options you pick in that dialogue tree, you're going to end up selling either Groot or Rocket to the monster buying lady, which to me makes the whole thing pointless. The only choice you have is, do you want to play the level with Rocket because you sold Groot, or do you want to play the level with Groot because you sold Rocket? Otherwise, it's going to be exactly the same thing. I'd love to be wrong about that, but I'm betting I'm not. But who knows? Maybe it'll be fun. Comic book characters are fun, video games are fun, comic book character video games should be fun. But sometimes you get stuff like Crystal Dynamics Avengers, which is garbage. I mean, there's some attractive stuff in that pile of garbage, but it's mostly a pile of garbage, in my humble yet inerrant opinion. Okay, and that was, yeah, the only thing that stuck out for Square Enix. So moving on to the PC Gaming Show, which I appreciate what they were trying to do with the wraparound presentation with the one host was in a giant robot and one was in a spaceship, but it hurt my soul, and I just fast-forwarded through all of it to look at the games. Also, most of the games in the PC Gaming Show, the presentations were so short, like 30, 40 seconds, they weren't long enough to really get a sense of what the hell the game was. But a few that stuck out to me was Silt, a game in which you swap your soul with fish to navigate a hostile underwater environment. So you play a diver, and you get stuck in seaweed. Well, you can transfer your soul to a nearby fish, so the fish can eat the seaweed, and then you take your soul back, I guess, so you can swim away. And that seems to be the gimmick of the game. You swap your soul with the fishies so that you can progress through the puzzle-laden environments of the deep sea. A cool idea. Solstice, action brawler where you fight with a ghost. Oh yeah, this is looks kind of like Bayonetta, except Bayonetta has a little ghost floating over her left shoulder. That was my right shoulder, but you know, over your left shoulder. That's neat. So you've got a ghost companion, a brawler with a ghost companion. Wasn't really clear exactly what the ghost does, but you've got a ghost companion, and that's pretty cool. Matthew says, kind of low bar to look better than the Avengers. Yeah, aesthetically, yeah, it's mainly, I mean, the technology behind Avengers is fine. It's just, I like Kamala Khan. I think she's a real cool design. Probably because it's an original design and not something that they had a... Well, they cast Kamala Khan now, but at the time they didn't have a live-action actor to somewhat model the character to kind of resemble in an uncanny way. So I think that's why Kamala looks great, but the rest of them just are off-putting. But yeah, do better than Crystal Dynamics Avengers. Should be a low bar. Where was I on the list here? Okay, so moving on to the Future Games Show. Happy Game. No idea what you actually do or how it plays, but it's a fun aesthetic. It's gory and creepy and disturbing with a happy face. So you play a very happy character bouncing around through Tra-La-La Land and horrible, creepy, nightmarish monsters are running around. And that juxtaposition is always fun. From an aesthetic standpoint, no idea if the game will be any good. Not even really clear what the game is. Might be kind of a puzzler, point-and-click adventure-esque kind of adventure. Not really sure, but digging the aesthetic. Lust from Beyond. Freaky, erotic horror, first-person adventure, you say? All right, I'm curious. I looked this up. I looked this up on Steam, and apparently, Lust from Beyond is a sequel to Lust from Before, or so. There's another game in that series. So no idea if it's any good or if it's garbage, but and it appears to be doing freaky erotic horror, not in the Silent Hill mold of just get big boobed nurses with freaky heads or something. Just put big boobs on things is kind of I don't mean to pick on Silent Hill, but whenever games are trying to do erotic horror, it's usually just put the bad guys, make them buxom half-naked women with cleavage-bearing outfits and thongs and stuff. And it's like, that's lazy. This, at least, appears to be doing something more along the lines of the freaky eroticism of, say, Hellraiser, right? No idea how successful that game or its predecessor is, but there's little else like it, so thumbs up there. Let's see. Alright, so that's the Future Games show. Moving on to Capcom. Alright, Resident Evil Village. There's DLC coming. Okay, I will wait to buy the game then. Glad we ironed that out, Capcom. Now, to Capcom's credit, the game's been out for like 2 months, and they've never mentioned DLC until now. So, whether it's true or not, it's definitely giving the perception that... And they didn't announce what the DLC was, they didn't show pictures or footage or concept art or anything. So whether true or not, they're given the perception that what the company did is we released a full complete game. Oh, you really like it? Oh, you want more? Okay, we'll start working on some additional content for it. Cool. That's probably not the case, but at least that's the perception. So had I purchased Resident Evil Village, I would not be upset. But now that I know there's new content coming, and Capcom very often does Definitive Edition, Gold Edition, that kind of stuff, I'm happy to wait a year until the Resident Evil Village plus DLC for $40 comes out. Okay, Monster Hunter Stories 2, demo on June 25th. Now, I have said many times that I have zero interest in Monster Hunter Stories for very immature reasons. Those reasons being that they call the monsters Monsties, and they call the Rathalos Ratha, and that damn cat Navaru can go jump in a lake. That's it? Yeah, that's literally it. That's why I don't like the game. Yes, it's childish, I know. But there's a demo coming next week, so yeah, I'll try it. I would love to love the game, but I mean, it's certainly pretty. It's got too much of a Pokemon vibe for me. I generally do not like the collect monsters to fight for you kind of genre of games. But give me a demo and I'll give it a go and give it a good old college try. So maybe we'll try that together on the following Sunday stream. Monster Hunter Rise is having some event quests, so more stuff. That's nice. They previewed some of the stuff you can get, like a new pair of sunglasses and a pair of leather pants. Haha! But my favorite was the play possum gesture, where your character goes, ah! and falls face forward on the ground, which is hilarious. And I wonder if there's like some invincibility when you do that. Like when you Superman dive away from a monster, when you land on the ground, you are invincible. Well, you're invincible during the dive and while you're laying on the ground. So I'm wondering if that gesture will make you safe on the ground. I don't know. Don't really have an opinion on it either way, but I do think it's funny. Chaos says Monster Hunter Stories looks like a well-made game, but every time they said Monsty, it angered me. Yeah, I mean, I hate to admit it, but that drives me absolutely nuts. Monsties. Oh, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Hey, what should we name our pet Rathalos? Let's call it Ratha. Are you putting any thought into this at all? It should not bother me as much as it does, but it really, really does. And also, I hate that damn cat, Navarro. You can go jump in the lake. But still, yeah, I'll give it a try. I watched the Treehouse stuff. I'll be honest, I skipped over the Mario Party segment of the Treehouse because I just do not care. I mean, I watched the WarioWare stuff, but Mario Party bores the ever-loving hell out of me. I mean, even the mini games just don't do it for me. What else? Oh, great Ace Attorney Chronicles. I'm very happy that those are getting localized. I've long wanted to play them. Now localize Edgeworth Part 2. What is it called? Ace Attorney Investigations? Ace Attorney Investigations 2. Because it's great. I had to, get the goddamn Japanese version, and then luckily there was a fan patch for it. Well, can't patch a cartridge, at least not easily, so I got the Japanese version of the game and then downloaded the patched ROM and played it on my PC. And it's not sitting on that shelf, so I don't know where the hell it is. I guess it's in the other room with the other DS games. Or is it DS? 3DS. DS, I think. It's an old game. Anyway, I could do without the voice work, because it sounds kind of bad. I'm still not sure why they're calling Sherlock Holmes Herlock Sholmes. Sherlock Holmes is a public domain character. You can use Sherlock Holmes. On the other hand, it's clearly a parody of Sherlock Holmes, so the flipping the syllables in the name or the letters in the name around isn't bothering me as much as I thought it would years ago when I first heard about the character. Anyway, I'm super glad that we're getting those games because I like the Ace Attorney games. All right, now we move to Nintendo, who won E3, as they do most years, and won it with Metroid Dread. Oh, there were other things, but Nintendo won E3 with Metroid Dread all by itself. Yes. So, I'm a little bummed that we're not learning anything about Metroid Prime 4, but all in good time. They had new Metroid, and it wasn't Federation Force. It looks great. they're really, the animation of this thing looks great. It looks like a lot of fun to play. They actually had 2 treehouse segments, and it looks really, really wonderful. I'm really looking forward to playing that. In fact, I'm so looking forward to playing that tomorrow for the Sunday stream, I will be playing Metroid Zero Mission, which is I'm not sure if it's a Mario Party All-Stars graphical update of the original or if it's like a full remake. I heard there's like an extra segment at the end of the game or something like that, so it'll be interesting. How long have I had? Actually, I just bought. It was like $8 on the Wii U eShop, so I bought that a couple days ago, and we'll play it tomorrow. Metroid Fusion I bought years ago. It's been sitting on my Wii U for a while, and Samus Returns I never picked. I actually have the Game Boy version of Samus Returns on my 3DS. Never played it, but I also want the 3DS version of Samus Returns. But that thing is never, like most Nintendo games, still $40. It has never dropped in price. Not once. What you gonna do? Chicago says, I just played and beat Zero Mission. Oh, alright. Well, you probably could beat it in less than 5 hours if it's anything like the original Metroid. I'm probably not going to. Because I've never played it before, and even if the map is exactly the same as the original, I haven't played the original since the late 80s. Yeah, it's been probably 30 years since I played the original Metroid, so I wouldn't remember where anything is. I mean, like, I can pretty clearly remember the first room where you go left to get the morph ball. And the little ball zoomers or whatever they're called are creeping around, but yeah. And I remember that Ridley and Kraid are like really small. in later games they're humongous, but they're like Samus size in that game, if I'm remembering correctly. I think I am. Anyway, I'm looking forward to playing it tomorrow. Let's see. Do I think the new Zelda will come with new hardware? No. I have to wonder how many Wii U owners bought Zero Mission and Fusion on the eShop after the Direct. I would imagine there's an uptick in sales, because they specifically said that this is Metroid 5, as opposed to the Prime Trilogy. And I'm like, Metroid 2, Return of Samus, Super Metroid, Other M, Fusion, Dread. Are we skipping Other M? We're skipping Other M, aren't we? They're like, oh, okay, the fifth 2D. Metroid Other M was mostly 2D. It was both. Okay, yeah, everyone's trying to forget Other M. And I still maintain that Other M is good fun. It's fun to play, for the most part. The gameplay of Metroid Other M is pretty solid. It's a fun game to play. It's not flawless in its in the gameplay department. There are a few missteps, yes, but most of the problems with Other M are narrative, characterization, story beats, the story in general, the dialogue writing, the pacing. Story construction, that's where the majority of the problems are. The game is a fun game to play. Running around and shooting monsters and stuff, that's fun. As long as you can deal with the... do I have a... No, I don't have a Wii remote sitting next to me, but I could. Hang on. Here we go. So how that game worked is you played it like this, moving left and right, up and down, shooty shoot, bang bang, whatever. And of course you had to nudge the trigger with your button. I think this was like the missile button or something. But you could also move into first person mode by doing this. And then you could aim around the screen and fire, shooty, shoot. and then when you turned it back around, the camera pulled out of first-person mode back into third-person mode. It works. It does exactly what it's supposed to, but I don't want to do this. I really, really don't want to do that. I can, but I don't want to. So, so if you can put up with that, I found Metroid Other M a fun game to play, but the narrative is hot garbage. It's really, really poorly written. And I will give the actors, I will cut them some slack, like a lot of people give the actor who plays Samus crap for her delivery. She's fine. It's the dialogue. No one could deliver that dialogue well. It's crappy dialogue, and the story doesn't make any sense. So I'm willing to cut the actor slack, because also I have a feeling that she was directed to deliver it in that very stoic monotone. So I think the actor did exactly what she was directed to do and what the script required. It's just a crappy script. Fun game, though. Stupid story. It doesn't work. Bad characters, bad characterization, but a fun game to play. I still maintain this. I will die on this hill! Let's see, what are we saying in the chat? Go back to what Jared said. Do I think the new Zelda will come with new hardware? I didn't mean to be dismissive of that question. No, I don't. If you mean... let me back up here. If you mean like some type of new Switch or Switch Pro kind of thing, possibly might come out alongside that. But if you're asking, but if by new hardware you mean like the next generation of Nintendo home console, no. No, I think Breath of the Wild 2 will be a Switch game, even if it does release alongside some forthcoming Switch Pro or new Nintendo Switch or something like that. Let's see. Chicago said I had to buy them on Wii U. I have the Game Boy Advance cartridge, but they don't work anymore? Huh. That's not often that I don't think I've ever had a game cartridge just up and die on me. On the other hand, I haven't tried any of my NES games in a long time, because the NES is at my mom's house. So it's possible that the... Of course, the NES is getting old. It's one of those things where you have to like jam another NES game on top of it to hold the damn thing down to make the connection solid. But it's been 35 years. It's possible the batteries in some of those games are dead. Of course, some of the older ones didn't use batteries. They used a password, so... let's see. Chicago says, thought Other M's gameplay was fun. It didn't feel like a traditional Metroid game, but it was fun. Yeah, it was different. It was different. Jared says either next gen or new Switch. I don't. My gut feeling, which means absolutely nothing, is that Breath of the Wild is not dependent on updated hardware. That said, I could totally see Nintendo delaying one or the other if they're ready in a similar time frame, just to capitalize on that synchronicity. It's like, get the new Nintendo Switch to play Breath of the Wild in 1080p, because otherwise it's going to be 900 on the regular Switch or something, you know. It'll be 60 frames per second 1080p on the new Switch and 900p and 30 frames on the regular Switch or something. Of course, a new hardware revision for Nintendo Switch might not be any more powerful. It might just be, it's a bigger, higher quality screen with revamped Joy-Con controllers that aren't horrible and uncomfortable, and more memory, so you can actually download more than 3 games on it. That's I would be surprised if a new Switch hardware revision were significantly more powerful. Like the games are like a PlayStation Pro kind of leap. I doubt that. Not saying it won't happen, not saying it's impossible, but I would be surprised. I would say if we get a hardware revision, it's going to be more along the lines of more storage space, better, bigger screen on the, this screen. That's what I imagine the new hardware would be more along the lines. But I mean, it'll probably, have a slightly higher CPU clock rate and stuff like that, but it's unlikely that, oh yeah, the Switch Pro, every game is going to be 1080p and 60 frames per second now. Probably not. It'd be nice. Almost certainly not going to be 4K. I doubt that very much. But, new Switch, now with better kickstand and 64 gigs of internal storage. There you go, Chicago. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And a better kickstand. That's exactly what I mean. Yeah. Oh, also, media. You've been predicting a new hardware revision for the Switch for over 3 years. So, when one comes out, you don't get to go, I told you so! No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Any more than doomsday sayers. Oh, the world is ending! It's gonna end on Christmas! And it doesn't end. On New Year's, it doesn't end. On Valentine's Day? Nope. Next year? 5 years? No. 10 years? No. And then the world actually does end. Ha-ha! I was right! No, you weren't. You don't get to predict something and then then it eventually actually does come true, go, ha-ha! No, that's not how that works. So there. Alright. James says, I just want my Animal Crossing town to not lag like hell on an upgraded Switch. Oh, there's lag? Is that an online thing or a local thing? Cafes, we're still with thrift. And Chicago points out, well, according to Nintendo, there is no drift. Now, Jared says, it's been 5 years, so new stuff is a possibility in a year and a half. Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon. I mean, Nintendo has a history of releasing a new hardware revision for its portable consoles, and the Switch, though it's marketed as a home console, is a portable. It's really a portable that hooks up to your TV, which honestly I think would have been a better way to market it. An awesome portable that you can also play on your TV rather than a weak-ass console that is also portable. I think the former is a better path to take marketing-wise, but I don't work in marketing. What do I know? Nothing. Nothing at all. If you put enough furniture outside, it stutters a lot. Oh, Animal Crossing. And if you see people with packed island, it's ridiculous. Oh, so it can only draw... Ew. It can only draw so much crap on the screen. Okay, I get what you're saying. Chaos says, possibly all that talk of the Switch Pro is actually the next-gen console. Possibly. I don't think we're going to see a new Nintendo console next hardware generation from Nintendo for a while yet, because it's only been just over 4 years, and the Switch is doing pretty great, so it doesn't seem necessary at this time. I mean, fall of 2022 at the earliest, I would think, but at this point, I just don't see a need to release new hardware. Because I mean, at this point, everyone is either doesn't care or is resigned to the fact that Nintendo is generations behind its, at least one full technological generation behind its contemporaries. So you're either okay with that or you're not. Um, it is a shame, though. Nintendo used to compete on a technological level. And the only reason I grouse about that is because would Breath of the Wild be better if it were on a more if it were on a piece of hardware more in line with its contemporaries? Yes, it would be better. Because two things being equal, one having better graphics, this is automatically by definition better. You can see farther, you can see more things, you can more easily discern what you are looking at. You know, stuff like that. Are graphics the most important thing? Not for most gamers, I don't think. But are they important? Yeah. But it's not just graphics, it's also, you know, performance. I mean, it goes back to what I was talking about in unpacking. Now, this is not a graphics, this is more of a style choice, but I can't tell what some of the books are and what some of the items. I guess you're not supposed to read the book covers, but I think that would help. And some of the items I'm pulling out of the boxes, I just genuinely don't know what they are. Is it a toy car? Is it an eraser? Is it a bar of soap? I don't know what that is. But whatever happens, Metroid Dread looks really fun. So they also announced Fatal Frame Maiden of Black Water, which is a game that I've really wanted to play since it was made available on the Wii U. But as Nintendo is wont to do, they have never dropped the price of that game. It is still $50. But, well, two things here. One, Fatal Frame is a game where you take pictures of ghosties, and for the Wii U, you moved your Wii U pad around, and this was the camera screen to take pictures of ghosts. You still played it on your TV, but you ended up doing this to take pictures, right? Obviously, that's not going to be the case in the new version. So, will that be okay, or will you feel like will something be lost? Like Zombie U, my favorite Wii U game. Again, not the best Wii U game, but my favorite. It was successfully ported to the PlayStation and Xbox consoles. And it works, but I would argue you actually lose an important part of the experience when you can't fuss around with the gamepad. I wonder if Maiden of Blackwater will be the same. Regardless, it's coming out on the other platforms too, which means that it will definitely drop in price at some point. Because I played the demo for Maiden of Blackwater, and I thought it was interesting. But I never thought it was $50 interesting. I thought it was $20 interesting, maybe $30 interesting, but not 50. So I'm excited to finally try that one out. You think even like a Halloween sale, Nintendo? Damn it! For crying out loud! You wonder why this stuff never sells. On the other hand, Nintendo is loath to devalue its stuff. So, I mean, for example. I'm not buying Resident Evil Village right now because I'm gambling that in a year I can get the game plus the DLC for about $40. Capcom probably hates that. Nintendo hates that too. So they're like, yeah, we're never dropping the price. It's $50. You don't think it's worth $50? Okay, don't buy it. I won't. Fine. Fine! Breath of the Wild 2! I liked Link's wild hair. I am concerned. It appears that Breath of the Wild 2 takes place in the same map as Breath of the Wild 1. It's just that there are some areas in the sky now. So my concern is, one of the best parts of Breath of the Wild is Hyrule, which is, for my money, the single best open world game area of any game ever. I don't think really anything has quite matched it. There have been some that have been really good and have come close, but nothing quite like Breath of the Wild. I was playing Horizon Zero Dawn. It's actually sitting on my floor. And I knew it was, so I'm like, what's this title? Horizon Zero Dawn. Which a lot of people compare to Breath of the Wild. I've not completed it, but I've played a fair amount of it. And, like maybe 10 hours. I don't know how far through the game I am. But it has a really lovingly detailed world. More detailed, of course, than Hyrule, because different power. It can show more little rocks and stuff. I would argue that Hyrule is a much more interesting environment. And one of the reasons I would say that, one of the reasons I think Hyrule works so well as an open game area, is because, one, even with the lower power of the Wii U, it is just a wonderful aesthetic design, makes the place just damn gorgeous. Two, there is an incredible variety of biomes. You have forests, you have rolling hills, you have grassy plains, you have cragged mountains, you have snow-capped peaks, you have sandy deserts, you have wet marshes, you've got probably not that finger, you've got a big lake, you've got all these you've got the volcano mountain, you've got the haunted Kokiri forest, the lost woods, you've got all these incredibly wonderfully interesting, varied areas. The tallest peaks, you've got these deep carved ravines that you can play in. It's just an absolute wonderful playground. Not only that, but it is so damn well designed that wherever you are in Hyrule, you are always within eyesight of at least one of the major landmarks. Which means, even without a map, you always know at least where you are in relation to giant landmasses. Like, if you look around, you will always be able to at least see Mount Lanayru, or Death Mountain, or Hyrule Castle, or something. So all you have to do is look around and go, okay, there's that mountain with the big gouge out of the middle of it. I know approximately where I am. But let's talk about Breath of the Wild 2. So my concern is, I've been to Hyrule. I've been there. I spent many hours there. I spent an entire charity event there. 2 of them, actually. I played that game across 2 different charity events. I have to wonder if some of the magic is gone, because I'm just going back to, it's the same Hyrule. Yeah, we've got the landmasses in the sky. Yeah, there's probably some changes here and there. Especially if the landmasses in the sky are actual pieces of Hyrule that, plucked out of the earth and went floating. Not other landmasses that zoomed in from somewhere else, but, I mean, if all the floating landmasses that you explore were yanked out of Hyrule, that could change the topography enough to make it not as samey. But another way to look at it is the Yakuza series of games, one of my absolute favorite game series, take place primarily in the same few blocks of Kamurocho in all of the games. It's the same place. Yeah, there are some differences game to game. Different shops move in, but it's the same few blocks of Kamurocho. And yet, I still love playing the games, even though they take place primarily in the same real estate. So, it's not impossible to set a sequel in exactly the same landmass, that doesn't... It can be done without it becoming rote, stale, or boring. We shall see. Let's see. Nintendo said they wanted the Switch to have a 7-year lifespan, and we are in the 5th year. We just started the 5th year, yeah. Chaos says that might have been their original plan, but they're making money hand over fist. Once sales slow down, they might think about a new console. Yeah, I mean, who said, I forget, yeah, they always say, oh, we want 6 years, 10 years, 12 years. They will put out a new console when the current one, the sales slow. So, you know, it's market driven. On the graphic side, says Jared, I saw the PC parts are starting to drop in price. If you're talking about like graphics cards, that would be nice because I still need one. Chaos says hopefully Fatal Frame will get a physical release this time. True. That it's one of the reasons why you could never get it for less than $50 because it was a digital-only title. Interesting for those who don't know. Already over time, but whatever. It's my show, and I can go as long as I want. How Fatal Frame was released on the Switch was it's a demo that covers the first 2 chapters of the game, something like that, and then the rest of the game is sold as DLC for $50, which is kind of a weird way to do it, because the only thing you'll find on the Wii U eShop is the demo. If you want to buy the full game, you have to download the demo and then purchase the DLC to get the full game. It's an odd way to do it, but that's the way they did it. Zombie U was best in Wii U, says Chicago. It brought an aspect of fear, trying to grab stuff in your bag because you couldn't see zombies that might attack you. Yeah. It was, in my mind, the only game that did that used the Wii U gamepad in a way that felt integral to the experience. Lots of the games used the gamepad, but not in a way that I felt an important element of the gameplay would be missing were it ported to another console. For example, a lot of the games just put the map on the gamepad, which is cool. Works just fine, but I can also just pause the game and look at the map. I'm not for most games, I'm not feeling like I lose anything by not being able to glance down at my lap to stare at a map. Let's see. Desert Oasis, underground caves. Yeah, lots of cool stuff, and I think we're talking about Breath of the Wild here. Reverend Werewolf, hello. No plans for the 35th anniversary for Zelda except for a Game & Watch system that sucks. It was 86, so yeah, okay. It's a cool Game & Watch. It's something. And, you know, these birthday milestones are fairly arbitrary. I mean, they almost rarely do that. Well, fairly, they are completely arbitrary. Companies, I get the sense, never plan for this. It's just, if we happen to have something that coincides with a milestone, we'll release it. Like, I don't think they prepared the year of Luigi. I think they just happened to have some Luigi stuff that year. It's like, oh, hey, we'll take advantage of this. Chaos is the term they use for Fatal Frame on the Wii U is free to start. Yeah. Hey, Lee. Cafe Fox says, so which exclusives are left on the Wii U? Star Fox? Oh, yeah, but no one cares. Actually, one of the videos that I had notes on but never got around to making was a Wii U games that deserve a second chance Wii U games that would be great on the Switch. And I never got around to doing it because there it is. because almost every game ended up on the Switch. You know, Wonderful 101, Bayonetta 2, Pikmin 3, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Super Mario Maker got a sequel, Smash Brothers got a sequel, Splatoon got a sequel, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Zombie U ended up on the other consoles. Um, did Zombie U actually end up on the Switch? I don't think it did, but it did end up on the PlayStation and the Xbox. Super Mario 3D World, Hyrule Warriors. I think the only games that were not on the only games that I listed that were not ported to the Switch were Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, which would have to would take some rethinking because that was, I think it was a touchscreen only game, and Xenoblade Chronicles X, which could easily be ported to the Switch and could definitely use the bit of extra power that the Switch has, because man, Xenoblade Chronicles X was struggling in a lot of areas just from a technology standpoint. Lot of pop in that game and LOD management issues. But yeah, I had this list of like 15 games, and all but 2 of them really ended up on the Switch. So, oh well. Silly chicken! Silly. I should stream Lego games. I used to love Lego games. Hell, I'm looking at 6 of them on the Wii U. I'm looking at my shelf over there. 3, 6, 9 of them on the Wii. I used to get all the Lego games, and then they started doing like multiple editions and a bunch of DLC, and I got tired of them. But I haven't played a Lego. I think the last Lego game I played was Lego Ninjago because it was free on the PlayStation at some point, and it's not very good. I think it was the Traveler's Tales. I think they kind of hit a wall at some point. As much as I like the Lego games, like, they never got around to fixing the damn controls in that game, because in the earliest Lego games, you'd like be standing on a ledge and you'd slip off and explode into studs, and it would respawn you on the ledge and you'd keep slipping off. That's a problem in like all of the Lego games. It's like, at what point are you going to fix that, guys? But really, it was just the way they were doing the thing. Oh, we'll sell the game, but here's some DLC, and here's some extra characters, and here's a special edition, and here's... I'm not dealing with that. You know, you sell a game and I'll buy the game if I'm interested in it. Which is not to say I'll never play another Lego game again. Just I haven't. Just one hasn't really captured my interest in all. What might do it for me is if they do a unique Lego game, something that's not based on like a movie IP, because it's all Lego Harry Potter, Lego Star Wars, Lego this, Lego that, Lego the other thing. One of my favorite Lego games, Lego City Undercover. That game is great. If they do something like that, where they just make their own story, something that's at least not a direct adaptation of a film or something, I think the best games are the ones that are not direct adaptations of existing work. Even the ones that use existing IP, like Lego Batman, tell your own story. Those are the ones that work better. So I very well might play another Lego game in the future, and maybe I'll stream one too. So we'll see. Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD. One was a GameCube game, one was a Wii game, though. So that's why they weren't on the list. But yeah. TriLink, hello. E3 really showed its irrelevance this year. Yeah, the ESA can just go away. And we don't need to... I'm fine with E3 just ending. We don't need it. Just don't need it. I mean, Nintendo hasn't bothered in 9 years. Sony stopped bothering 2 years ago or something like that. I think EA wasn't really there. They went to their own thing down the street. Just, each company just, pick a time during the year when you have some stuff to show and show it. No need to jam it all into one week. It can be kind of exciting. Oh, Christmas, all this stuff, But, we can have a Nintendo week, and then we can have a Microsoft week, and then, Sony didn't even do a thing this week. They're like, nah, we'll do a State of Play later. So, anyway, TriLink goes on to say, sad, but I think with the internet, companies can now release things according to their schedule, not someone else's. Yeah, I don't see... Some of the smaller companies, definitely the big ones do not need the ESA, but some of the smaller ones, they can definitely use the ESA's resources to actually get a streaming show going. On the other hand, you still don't need them. You could just make a thing and upload it to YouTube. You could just do that. And Twitch and whatever. You don't need to do it live. In fact, you really shouldn't do it live. And, okay, show of hands in the chat. How many of you actually watched any of the host segments, whether you were watching GameSpot or IGN or Game Trailers or whoever? How many of you actually watched the host segments between the major events? Like the host segment, like between Xbox, Bethesda, and Square Enix. Did you watch the host segments for the hour or two between those shows? I didn't. And my sense, I could be totally wrong about this, but my sense is most of you didn't either. So, yeah, I agree that E3 is no longer needed. We don't need to go anywhere. I've been to E3. It was fun to experience once, but we don't really need to do that these days. Oh, we need to get hands-on. Yeah, you send me a code. I don't need to go there. It's still fun. The pomp and circumstance can be kind of fun, but I think it's probably a better idea, is what I was saying, what TriLink's suggesting, is just the various companies do your own thing in your own time, your own way. And maybe don't call it the something direct, because Nintendo hasn't sued you so far, and I don't really care, but it does sound pretty derivative. I mean, it just sounds like you can't think of anything better. I mean, Sony's got State of Play. Microsoft, I forget what they call their showcase. Ubisoft is Ubisoft Forward, which is kind of dumb sounding, but at least it's their own branding. But whatever, doesn't really matter that much to me. So, Breath of the Wild 2, yeah, looking forward to hearing more about it and seeing if it'll be up my alley. Final game that stood out for me from Nintendo show was No More Heroes 3, which we actually got to see some more of in the Nintendo Treehouse, and it looks like No More Heroes. It looks fun. It's got wacky bosses, and Beam Katana Fu, and Gene the Cat is in there, so yeah. I still feel that No More Heroes 2 was a misstep, and the Travis Strikes Again looks bad, and I heard it was bad. But this looks like a fun return to form, so I'm looking forward to it. Oh goodness, let's see. Lots of stuff here. TriLink says, I think Microsoft won this year, as they showed a good variety of games. Nintendo comes second for me. Okay, too many ports and remakes shown for my liking. Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, I think I mentioned this during my React video. Yeah, at least 4 of the major announcements on Nintendo's Direct were ports and remakes. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but because I didn't write them down because they didn't really interest me, because I probably played them the first time, and if I wasn't interested in the first time. Lego City Undercover. Chaos likes Lego City Undercover. Lego Rock Raiders. um, Joey Jojo Junior Shabadoo. Still, I love that name. This E3 could have been an email. As a recap, well, I mean, it'd be a long email, but sure. One of the biggest problems was the ESA just, one of the issues, and it's not completely the ESA's fault, but the schedule wasn't even fully announced until like the week of. So a lot of the conferences and shows I watched, I found out like on the day because the schedule kept changing because I didn't because I looked at it like a week ago and I'm like, okay, there's this, this, and this, great, and I'm like, oh, there's this? Since when? Who knows? Trilink says, oh, and the remakes collections they did to the show are full price. Thanks, Nintendo. Yeah. Oh, I was working too, but I work from home, so I still put in the required hours, but I did take breaks now and then to watch stuff. I also stayed up late watching a lot of the stuff I missed. So. Trilink says, I think if they revealed Splatoon 3 in this direct, that their next DK or Mario game alongside a trailer for Bayonetta 3, then they would have stolen the show. Yeah. You take Breath of the Wild 2 and Metroid Dread and add in a look at Splatoon 3, along with DK or Mario. Rabbids plus Mario plus Rabbids might have been a bigger deal if it wasn't already announced at Ubisoft the weekend before, but yeah. Zygon says Stalker 2, far changing, far. Don't remember. And those are your most looked forward to. Okay. Well, we're moving on to new F-Zero. Yeah, that would have blown me away because Nintendo. Usually, you ask Nintendo, it's like, "Hey, what about this?" And they're like, "Oh, we love that franchise, and if we have a great idea, we'd be looking forward to bringing that back." Blah 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 blah. Then you have F-Zero, where Nintendo's like, F-Zero? Nah, fuck F-Zero. And fuck anyone who likes F-Zero. Jeez, Nintendo. You kind of get the sense that Nintendo just really doesn't like F-Zero. It's like, you get Captain Falcon in Smash Brothers. That's it. Now leave us alone. No F-Zero. F-Zero must have killed someone's dog. Like Shigeru Iwata's dog was run over by Captain Falcon or something like that. I don't know what happened, but Nintendo seems open to all of their franchises except F-Zero. They seem to be like, no, not gonna do F-Zero. F-Zero can lick our butts. And it's a shame too, because I don't like racing games, but I can at least acknowledge when they're great, and F-Zero has been great. You get an F-Zero track in Mario Kart 8. Now shut the hell up. And it's so good too. More of this. No. F-Zero killed my dog. And Miyamoto's dog too. And everyone who's ever worked here who had a dog was run over by F-Zero. What did I think of the Lego Movie video game? Thought it was pretty good. Wrote the IGN guide for it. Chock full of bugs, as many Lego games are. Did a video about it, which I'm guessing you've seen. But otherwise, it was a. I like the fact that they obviously put that one together really quickly and didn't try to drag that out into a massive game like many of them are. They're like, nah, we're just going to have like 5 levels. We're only going to have 200 bricks, not 450, because we just don't have the time to do any. Because it's a movie tie-in, we've only got so much time. I think they did a nice job with the movie tie-in game, and it was a fun game. Oh yeah, the Smash Tekken trailer where Kazi killed Captain Falcon, threw him off a cliff. No, I didn't write the IGN review. I wrote the IGN guide for a Lego Movie video game. Anyway, moving on to Intellivision. So Intellivision is releasing a console called the the Amico. It's not a ripoff of Amiibo. That's an actual word that means something, and I don't remember. But whatever. So Intellivision has a new console coming out this fall, and it is a cross between the Ouya, the Wii, and the Wii U. So take the very niche indie developer-friendly Ouya and add Wii Remote Waggle controllers that have touchscreens on them. And that's the Amico. Now, the idea here is a niche, family-friendly, competitively priced alternative to the Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony consoles, right? Most of the games look kind of like your Wii Sports and Wii Party and Carnival Games collection and stuff like that. And it looks neat. And I thought, you know what, and they made a point that all of the games are, there will be physical, but all the games are downloadable, and all of them are $10 or less. They range from $2.99 to $9.99, so it's going to be really affordable. And I thought, okay, as a impulse buy, you know, something you see at Walgreens, you're like, oh yeah, I'll pick that up for the kids. We can play, you know, it's got like 12 games packed in, and it's real simple stuff, you know, tennis, waggle the thing around. Everyone understands how to play. There's a screen on the controller that you can jab at, so, you know, it works just like a phone. It's fine. It uses NFT or something like that you just lay the controllers on top of the unit to recharge them. It's cool. And I thought, you know what, as a niche product, as a alternative to the Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft's, if they get the price point right, this could work, as long as the advertising is there too. As long as people know about it and the price point is right. Like, if they sell this thing for like $50, I could see this just, you know, sitting at all of your Walgreens and people just impulse buying it, because it's just, you know, like those kiosks you see in the middle of the mall that say, 50 video games on that one console thing for $20, you know, and those are not legal. But you know, it has, you know, 2 controllers with lights and a touch screen, and you know, so maybe it's a little bit more expensive than $50. I'm thinking maybe they could get away with $100, maybe like $129.99. I think is the absolute most they could reasonably ask for this console and still expect it to actually sell for the niche product that it necessarily is. So how much does it cost? Well, they didn't say in the presentation. That's a red flag! You think there might be a reason they didn't say how much it cost? I think there might be a reason why they didn't say how much it costs. How much do you think it costs? How much do you think this costs? Well, I'm going to spoil it for you. It's $250. This thing is dead on arrival. That's not going to work at all. For $50 more, you could get a Switch and better games. and a lot more of them. For $50 more, you could get one of the Xbox Xbox One S. I think is still $300. PlayStation 4 is $300. Yeah, $250. Nope, you're done. Sorry. Cool idea. I think there's a market for that particular product. If you market it correctly and priced it appropriately, I think that could be a successful product. It is actually kind of neat for a certain market. But $250? Nope. Sorry, mate. You done. That is not... I mean, best of luck to you. Hope you prove me wrong, but... yeah. Stick a fork in you. You're done. I don't know how much the individual controllers cost. They don't say, but here's a neat thing. They have a free mobile app for iOS and Android that you can download onto your smartphone and use your phone as a controller in lieu of the actual official controllers. So that's cool. You know, you buy one, it comes with 2 controllers, and you have, 4 to 6 people in the house, but everyone's got a smartphone, so, or at least most people have smartphones, so there you go. That's cool, but yeah, $250 for... Nope. Nope. No. Or maybe I'm just really cheap. Bandai Namco. Bandai Namco had an interesting presentation. Because Bandai Namco's entire presentation was a 6-minute developer interview for House of Ashes. That's it. That was the entire thing. It was a decent interview. One game. I guess there's no reason why you have to have more than one game if you're going to do a E3 type presentation, but the expectation is that you do. Because I seriously thought I had done something wrong or misunderstood. I'm like, is that it? Did I miss something? Did I get the wrong time? Is there seriously only one game in the entire presentation? Yeah? Bamco had one game. One. Okay. I hope it's... I liked the first one. What was it? Near Dark, Till Death. What the hell was the first one? I forget what it was called, but I thought it was kind of fun. And I played it, and it's like, I don't think I want to play any more. I enjoyed it, but I'm like, yeah, unless they do something radically different, I don't think I want to actually play any more of this. And House of Ashes is like, what, the 4th one? Someone's buying them. You can't find an Xbox One S or PS4 right now? Oh, it's not just the new stuff? You can't find the older gen stuff too? Oh, that's a shame. Trilink says there's no buttons on the Amico. None that I can see. Looks interesting, but 250 doesn't say. The controllers have a touchscreen and like a dial on it. I would assume that the dial probably is clicky too, but I think it's got 64 rotation points. So it's kind of like the... hang on. No, I don't have my Atari controllers in there. It's in my closet. So it's the little controllers with the wheel on top. So it has one of those. All right, so there was the Upload VR showcase, which had a game called Unplugged, I'm going to give it a new name. And this name is so good, you are immediately going to know exactly how the game plays. All right, are you ready? Instead of Unplugged, it should be called Air Guitar Hero. So it's a VR game where it uses the camera to figure out your fingering positions, and your strumming. So you just sit there going dee 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 dee, and it's Guitar Hero just without the plastic controller. Now you don't need to spend $90 on the plastic controller. You just need to spend $300 or $800 or however whichever one this is for the huge fucking headset. And you don't need all this plastic crap anymore. No, but you need the several $100 unit you strap to your face. That was fun. There's another game called I Expect You to Die 2, which makes me assume there's an I Expect You to Die 1, which is a first-person escape room kind of a game, but it's got a really fun bumbling spy setup to it. You seem to be like a really incompetent James Bond who's just fumbling his way through not dying at the hands of not Blofeld and stuff. It looked like a fun conceit and could be funny. Here's another one is called Sentenced, where you are an executioner. So you chop people's heads off in front of a crowd. And the point seems to be, how do you feel about that? So that's interesting. And then the last one is Traffic Jams, which it's another first-person game where you direct traffic. So you just wave your arms and try not to get everyone killed by ramming cars together. That's a pretty cool idea for a VR game. Just direct traffic. I like it. It's a good idea. Doop doop doop. Zygon's I Expect You to Die is pretty good. Got set in the moderation queue. Have I played Little Nightmares? I played the demo of Little Nightmares, and I love the aesthetic of it, but the controls are kind of not great. There were a lot of moments in the game where I would jump at something and just miss because I was too far forward or too far upstage or too far downstage of whatever rope or ledge I was aiming at. So it's a pretty interesting puzzle adventure game. Again with a great aesthetic, but its control issues were manageable, but they were enough where I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna invest in the full game. The Atari paddles, yes, Chicago. That's and Chaos. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Chicago says, to be fair, Bandai Namco is just a small indie company that just started. Yeah. TriLink, at least it wasn't like Capcom's presentation, whose presenter's family must have been held hostage or something, given her pained expressions and contrived enthusiasm. Oh God, I'm trying to I don't even remember. Yeah, that didn't stand out to me. I'm not remembering it. But I do recall just generally most of the presenters were pretty flat. I think there was some dude with pink hair who had a ton of energy. I think that might have been Ubisoft. I think he was probably promoting part of Just Dance or something like that. And if that's the case, then he's a professional performer, so he knows how to be up and have energy and speak to people, and is comfortable in front of a camera. So that's wouldn't be surprising at all. So there a lot of the companies are obviously grabbing whoever is around, and it's not always working. if you can, you should. You might have someone who works for you who's just naturally good at public speaking. But if not, no shame. It's a skill not everyone has. Hire someone who is. If you have the budget for it, I understand that sometimes you don't. But yeah, a lot of times watching Suits, like they'll grab like the CEO of the company or something. It's like this person, one, is not comfortable talking to people, and number two, you can kind of tell they don't give the slightest shit about video games. They just, they just care, they're CEOs, they just care about the money they make, and it's not someone I want to listen to. So, I mean, some of the presenters are fine, but yeah, generally speaking, they run pretty cold for the most part. Not everyone can be Reggie. Not everyone's body is ready for public speaking. That's sure. So many execution figures feel like a man I could use if they can. Yeah. Where was Devolver Digital? Did I talk about that last week? I did. Yeah, okay, that was last week. I think it's worth mentioning again that I find Devolver's stuff the most entertaining, just from a show. I don't even care what games they're promoting. I just enjoy the Nina Struthers character. Whoever that actor is amazing at that part. And whoever the actor playing the CEO of Devolver Digital, oh my god, she is hilarious. Damn near steals the show, and I think she's only in like 2 or 3 scenes. And they really stepped up their game this year. Years past, the early years, it felt like something they threw together. Still good, but definitely something they threw together in like 3 weeks. Looks like they spent a lot of time planning this sucker out, because they had a lot of really complicated shots here. That must have just been an absolute nightmare to film. So kudos on them. I hope the games are good. Anyway, not everyone has a Todd Howard. Oh yeah, Todd Howard. There's a charismatic dude right there. Anyways, impressed by his presentation style instead of the game he shows for Bethesda. I get the sense Todd Howard, he's fine, but I get the sense that he's as embarrassed of Bethesda as he absolutely should be. I mean, that's the sense I get, like, because he occasionally will do stuff like, yeah, I know, our games are unforgivably buggy pieces of shit, but hey, you still buy it, so we're not incentivized to release non-buggy games. At least some of the studios are owned, or some of the studios, like id and Arcane and stuff that we own, they make great stuff that makes us look a lot better than we are. We used to be so good, but oh my god, we suck. We have great ideas, though. We can't execute them for shit, but we have great ideas. We're not going to do them. We're going to do Fallout 76 instead. And hey, 2 years later, Fallout 76 almost kind of works. And we didn't rip off that many people, both digitally and physically, with the game and with, promotional tat. But yeah, all things considered, Todd Howard is a decent speaker. Yeah. Oh my god, it's 9 o'clock. I've been doing this for 2 hours. Okay, let's stop podcasting now. So I think we're done for the night. Oh yes, that's good. So I gotta eat dinner, and join me tomorrow at noon Pacific Standard Time, and we will play some Metroid. I've got Dread Zero Mission. I kept wanting to say Dread. I'm like, no, I don't have the game several months early. We're going to play Metroid Zero Mission tomorrow. Noon Pacific Standard Time. So, I hope you will come by and keep me company. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Juneteenth, and have a lovely evening, and then night, and subsequent morning, until we meet again and play Metroid Zero Mission. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.